Hello, how's everybody doing? Awesome. The first speech I ever gave was to blood drive sponsors with the American Red Cross. I received blood myself as a baby, so my parents would travel around and tell people about the importance of donating blood. My job then was to be cute. But at the age of 8, I took my turn speaking. Then Dr. Larry Siegel, anybody out there know him?
Yes, wonderful.
Yes, he is. He invited me to talk about the importance of physical therapy at a Family Connection Hopes and Dreams conference. I don't think he expected me to have a lot to say, so when I got going, I think he had to cut his speech short. My talk was on the importance of moving. At the time, I was 10, so all that meant to me was, moving. But now that I've struggled through some things and gotten a little older, I realize that the word move means much, much more. Moving on. The organizers of this amazing conference asked me to talk about my life, so I will. But that got me thinking. When I talk to USC medical students about my life with a disability, it's very chronological as I tell them one medical event after the other. But is that how we really live our lives? Think about it. The conventional wisdom is that we're born, we experience childhood, we breathe for some odd years as adults, and then we get older and we die, at least for those of us who make it that far. I propose that viewing life in this way is extremely depressing. We should never judge anyone by their chronological years, but we do it all the time without realizing it. We assume that someone is too young to have a valid opinion or too old to understand the new stuff. So today, we are not going to talk about one chronological life, but about all the many lives we have led and will lead. And maybe together, we'll figure out how to move through it all in a better way. So first, we'll talk about me, which apparently is a requirement for the keynote speaker of this event. Then we're going to talk about moving through life as a concept. And finally, we'll talk about what it takes to move toward the lives we all really, really want. And by the way, I'm not there yet, so no magic answers here, just some observations. But first, let's remember that the average human being can only sit still and pay attention for 20 minutes at a time. My talk is supposed to be 50 minutes long. So in order to avoid the torture of sitting still and listening to me, we're going to start with a game I loved as a kid, the Hokey Pokey. Ready? With me. Put your right hand in, take your right hand out, put your right hand in and you shake it all about. You do the hokey pokey and you turn yourself around. That's what it's all about.
Thank you.
My mom says this looks like something called the Macarena. I think that's probably a generational thing, but let's get into the topic of me. I was born in January 2000. I think this was right after the world was supposed to end, because all the technology was supposed to fail at midnight on New Year's. But it didn't, and I'm glad, because I was born early, about 3 months early. Side note, the pictures get kind of scary, but they get cuter later, I promise. When I was born, I needed oxygen, and I had a bleed in my brain. When I cried, I sounded like a kitten, but I didn't cry much because I didn't have the energy. My weight dropped to under 2 pounds. Then they started bringing these little tiny bags of blood. And each time I got blood, I'd go from quiet and gray to pink and angry. I'd ball my fists, kick my legs, and scream. My dad says that in someone so small, he could literally see the life flowing into me. See? Cute, right? And yes, to deal with the obvious, I do have a disability. That bleed in the brain left me with a condition called cerebral palsy. I've had 6 surgeries, even more procedures, even more doctor's appointments, and thousands of hours of therapy. An athlete trains to have fun, look good, and prepare for the big game. I train like an athlete so that I can access the world around me. To quote Josh Blue, a comedian with CP, it's like doing origami with plywood. We don't exactly bend the way we're supposed to. It's okay though, I got this. Back when I was little, my family got the following prognosis. He will be wheelchair bound by the time he gets to school. He will have significant learning disabilities. His cognitive and emotional development may not exceed that of a pre-adolescent. He may not be able to speak or communicate. At some point, you may want to consider institutionalization. But honestly, it wouldn't have mattered either way. What if the prognosis had been right? No, I probably wouldn't be where I am today, but I would be somewhere else. I would still have wants and dreams. They might be different from the ones I have now, but I'd still be me, and I'd still want to keep moving through life, not sitting still, metaphorically speaking. Planning is one of our themes for today. And my first official plan was way back at the age of 2. All my family and friends of the family gathered around and did a person-centered plan for me. All our friends had toddlers my age, and I was so happy and giggling with them around. Except when my cousin Morgan squealed. That I did not like at all. But the point is, the interventionist facilitating everything brought out how engaged I was. And the fact was, I was rarely around other kids. So, did everybody want me engaged and giggling? They did. And several times as IEPs became challenging, we wondered if maybe homeschooling was the right thing for me. But we always came back to being in a school. Is that right for everyone? No, but it was right for me. And we had the structure because we had a plan. There happens to be a session on person-centered planning today, and if you haven't looked into that, please do. Speaking of school and IEPs, yeah. Like many of you, I've worked with some amazing teams that followed my leadership. Yes, mine. That was my mom's evil plan because it's really hard to say no to a cute kid saying please. And other teams that tried to cram me through a cookie cutter. Unsuccessfully, I might add. But what is an IEP? It's another kind of plan. In each case, we are moving from plan to plan, from goal 1 to goal 100. When they work, they pave the road for moving to somewhere a kid like me wants to go. And as challenging as IEPs can be sometimes, just like the rest of school, they are training for the rest of life. And sometimes it took more effort. At one point, getting my team to honor my accommodations became a real struggle. So my mom put together a medical management plan and basically made it so hard for the school admin to fight back that they just gave up. A little something I've learned: be fair, be kind, and stand strong. So after proving everyone that my prognosis did not define me, I went on to honors classes and eventually landed at Furman University. But it's my volunteering, what I now call my advocacy work, that I'm most proud of. It started, like I said, with the American Red Cross. If you want to know more, my mom would be happy to talk to you. But be prepared. She's going to ask if you're a blood donor. I'm a platelet donor myself. And I do mission work, locally with the Salkehatchie program, helping people who really need it. I'm heading there in a few weeks, as a matter of fact. And what really was meaningful for me was helping to make a home accessible for a young man with cerebral palsy. His mom had always helped him, but she died, and he struggled. I got it. I totally got it. And as thankful as I am for my family and all the advantages I have, I also wondered, what if we hadn't been there for that guy? What would have happened to him? I grew up in Family Connection. Any of you here with that organization? Yep, I still volunteer with them. I'm also indebted to Able SC, who helped me research the topic of sub-minimum wage. I learned about that at their leadership forum, and I eventually gave a TED Talk on it called The Disabled Wage. You can find it at TED.com. I still work with Able, and I hope you have a chance to talk to Melissa Snyder and Bauer Westren. They're leading a session on Social Security, so they can help you if you're looking into that. As I move through different things in my life, advocacy keeps coming to the top. My goal for law school is to learn how to make policy. Remember that guy who was like me, who was all alone? Sometimes the law gets in the way, or is just not present, and I'd rather see laws that get things moving. Well, that's pretty much me. Not so amazing, and I'm pretty sure you've got some stories that are way more interesting. I hope we found some common ground, though. Time checked. Yep, time to move. This is something I learned during my thousands of hours of therapy. If you can, put your hands in the air. Now put them together. Now hold that for 10 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Good. That's called the mountain pose. It's supposed to be really good for your shoulders. So, I just talked through my life in something like chronological order. And I guess there is an argument that we live life that way. But here is what we're going to talk about today. Are you going to lead that life sitting still, or do you have to move? Now it is time to talk about what moving through life actually means. And this is not in chronological order. Instead, it is based solely on what each of you really want. And it might be more than one thing, too. Here's the question. What is it deep down inside that you really, really want? Think about that question. Now, why don't you have it? I did some research on why people's dreams don't come true, and it really boils down to a few common sense things. We don't do anything to make them come true. Today, we're going to talk about how to work toward making a dream of yours come true. You don't think you deserve it. I didn't find this listed in my research, but I know it is a thing that is very real. Part of the disability baggage we carry is that we feel guilty asking anyone for anything. We'll talk about that in my breakout session later. The dream scares you. Good. This is what makes life interesting. But embracing fear is so hard, especially when the consequences are real. I've got a story about this one. You know you need others and you don't want to impose. We're going to talk about this one today too, because you and your team might need a mental shift. But what is a dream? This is a quote from a lady I know pretty well, my mom. She's a project manager, and she's made her entire career around helping people's dreams and visions come true. When she meets a team that has a vision, the first question she asks is, what do you want to change? And sometimes they can't answer that question. But words are powerful. And if we want to make our dream come true, we need to be able to put it into words. A lot of experts out there say, tell me what you want blank to look like in the future. But that's not really what will drive us to our dream. You probably already have an idea of what it'll look like, and it's probably mostly a feeling or a picture in your head, right? But that won't really get things moving. But asking what will change, what will be different. Now we have actionable items. Now we're getting somewhere. For the purposes of our discussion today, let's give ourselves a dream that we'll work on together. How about, I really want to binge watch every episode of Game of Thrones. I've never seen the show, but I do know some rabid fans, and I'm told this is important. There are 3 phases of making any dream come true. Plan for it, work for it, and experience it. All right, planning for it. Nope, I can't do it. I have too many responsibilities every day, no way I can. I'm afraid if I do this, people think I'm being selfish. Trying to find the time is just too hard. And here is why dreams don't come true. How about you take all that negative talk and put it in a box and sit on it so it won't get out for the rest of our talk. You good? It might buck you, but stay sitting on that box or that throne. Back to planning for it. Mom's magic question. What needs to change? Well, maybe we look at our sample dream. Is this dream really just about seeing pretty people and dragons on a screen? Probably not. This is probably more about you taking a vacation in your head. It's you letting your imagination run wild and the show is just your guide. It's you showing a little love for yourself. Every person needs this. Every single one of you in this room. So why haven't you invested in this dream before now? Probably lots of reasons, but the biggest one, the one that stops us before we even start, is probably the subconscious fear of change. Change is already scary, but to be the one moving toward it and making it happen, that's a whole nother level of fear. So how do you overcome it? You make a plan. How you do this doesn't matter. I have a huge dry mark eraser board in my kitchen that I map things out on. My mom likes using spreadsheets and my dad likes using flowcharts. My brother likes using pictures. How you do it doesn't matter. You just need to map out all the steps you need to take, every place you need to move to make your dream happen. So, what's got to change? What do you want to change? What's going to be hard to change? For our binge watch, these could be our obstacles. I don't have time, so somehow I've got to find it. I don't have a streaming service that has the show, so I have to get that too. I'm never alone, and I really want this to be for me. So I need to negotiate with people and find a time when I can be alone. Dreams mean something's got to change. Before I was born, my mom was getting her MBA, and my dad wanted to get his MBA next. Dad made sure Mom had all the time, the resources, and the aloneness she needed to make her dream happen. But with me in the picture, he couldn't get those things. And then one thing led to another, and he gave up on the dream, believing it just wasn't possible. But when I went to college, he started wondering if it was possible, and maybe it wasn't too late. Yes, it took an adjustment for everybody in the family, but despite how hard the work is, he's happier, which means we're all happier. So, what's a good plan? Remember Abbott and Costello? Usually planning starts off kind of crazy as you get into it. But once you're finishing up, you'll see you've ended up with the following. Who? Who do you need to help you? What? What do you need to do to make your dream come true? Where? Where exactly is this going to take place? When? When are you going to do it? How? All the W's above are great, but they all have to come together somehow. That's your how. Why? Never lose sight of why you want the dream. Guilt and pressures and responsibility will jump up at you, so stay focused on the why. Things are a little crazy right now in my family, and my dad considered taking a term off from his MBA. But Mom and I both said no. We just need a plan adjustment. When you have a good, flexible plan, adjustments are just fine. Because meteors will come up and derail you, but a good plan can be adjusted. You can reach out to your who's for help, or change the where or the when. But if you grab that meteor and use it as an excuse, there's probably something deeper going on. More about meteors in a minute, but first we need to actually do the work to make the dream come true. We got our plan. Yay! Here's the next freeze point. Where to start? There is so much that needs to get done. I don't have time. I'll just wait for someone to be around to help me. I'll start on the plan later. There it is again. At least with a plan, you now know everything that needs to happen. But that can be overwhelming too. How many of you have had or helped create IEPs? A common accommodation is the chunking of work. That's because some students see reading a few chapters and doing multiple choice and short answer and an essay as way too much to take in. but breaking it down to just this section with these 5 questions to answer means that little by little the work gets done. I've never had that as an accommodation, but I have done it for myself since, well, the beginning of school. Focusing on the one and only one thing that needs to get done means the rest of the list just fades away until it's time to look at it again. But what if there isn't anything that needs to get done? Then you make a game out of it. My mom makes a really long list of chores sometimes, and she admits she gets overwhelmed and starts procrastinating. But then she grabs her 20-sided die and rolls it. And whatever number she rolls, that's what she does next. And after a while, the list isn't so long anymore. And let's face it, who doesn't like putting a big check mark by something and calling it done? Do that a few times and suddenly you're on a roll, pun intended, making your dream come true. Yes, meteors will still come out of nowhere, but yes, we will deal with them. But a good plan means that you can adjust and keep going. And if the why of your plan is important to you, and if you commit to keeping it a priority, you'll get right back into it. Speaking of meteors, when they come down, that's a really good time to lean on your who's. So right now, I want you to turn as much of your body as you can, look at someone you don't know, and say hi. Awesome, awesome. What you're doing is you're networking. Yep, you're networking, very good. You're making more moves. You never know when these people might be able to help make one of your dreams come true, or you might be able to help them. So now, we've made our plan, we've done the work, and we're here. It's time for our binge watch. All we need to do now is grab that box of popcorn and submit ourselves to the fantastic realm of beauty, fights, dragons, and every hour we end the episode exhausted and ready for the next fight. But you know, sometimes we get our dream and it isn't what we thought. That's what happened for my mom. She wanted to watch Game of Thrones, and she did all the planning and all the doing to make it a reality. She waited until I was off at college. She marked off the times when my brother would be otherwise occupied and my dad would be available, and she got the streaming service needed to show it. She even had popcorn ready to pop. Finally, she started watching with my dad. But after that first episode, every little thing became an excuse not to watch the next one. She finally realized and told my dad that it wasn't everything she thought it was going to be. My mom loves romance and fantasy and dragons, but she really does not like politics. And apparently there was a little bit of politics in the show. Now we're back to fear again. Yep, we do all that planning and all that work to get everything ready, and bam, we get there and it isn't everything we thought it would be, or maybe it doesn't even work. You might think, well, I wasted all that time. I'm never doing that again. Now hold on. Let me tell you a story. When I was 14, I decided I wanted a girlfriend.
Oh my goodness.
Yep. But I was a freshman in high school, so I didn't know many students. And I had a big school, this Walker which is slow, and an aide that was with me outside of class time. So actually hanging out with other students was a challenge. Planning. I knew I had to find a way to meet girls. I came up with a lot of ideas, but settled on making a grid, like a grid search for lost people. Not that the girls were lost, but that didn't change the fact that I had to find them. So I did. I mapped out all the places where I thought students would be. The cafeteria, the courtyard, a bunch of places. And I asked my aide, who I needed to be in on it with me, to hang back a little so that I could be more approachable. And I mustered up my courage and said hi to people. And sometimes they said hi back. But no girlfriend. I did do theater for the next few years. I started because I thought that would be a great way to force a girl to talk to me. But I ended up really enjoying it anyway. But just doing it wasn't really getting me what I originally wanted. Eventually, putting in the effort was just too hard, and I gave up. Now you might think, wow, all that work and nothing to show for it. And yes, I was depressed. But wait a minute. Fast forward to college. I was in a very similar situation. I had joined a few student organizations, but still, it was a challenge to just hang out with people. But then I remember that grid search I did in high school, and using the same concept, I mapped out everywhere on campus that there would be students. The dorm commons, the dining hall, the classroom buildings, and I spent time in each of those places. And eventually I found a spot in the dining hall where people would be passing by most all day. And with the help of a wonderful lunch lady who kept me fed, I parked myself there and said hi to people. And this time it worked. People said hi back, and it grew and grew. Hey, aren't you in my Bible class? Hey, I saw you in the play, you were so funny. Dude, what are they serving that's good today? Come join us at the Wesley Club table when you get a chance. And it worked. Over time, I found those that I connected with. So no, I didn't get a girlfriend my freshman year of high school, but that same experience got me friends in college that I still have today. Fear of wasted time is a waste. Don't let it happen. Payoff will come. And fear should never hold us back from really going for our dreams, big or small. And I've got a big dream right now, you know. This fall, I'll begin studies at the University of South Carolina School of Law. Thank you. I appreciate that. The problem is, I'm told that the first year is just this side of hell. I know going in that it'll be stressful, and more so for me. I have to navigate a big school, arrange transportation to and from my house, and do a whole bunch of reading and writing. Sometimes I wonder if I'm doing the right thing. But law school isn't really my dream. My dream is to fix stuff that's broken for all of us. And right now, law school is a step on the path. Getting there, though, is going to be a minefield, and I know it. All those little things pile up into a big mountain of stress. But with the help of my parents and anyone else I can find, we'll work to eliminate one barrier at a time. I know the why, And right now my plan to get to the dream is to go to law school. But maybe the plan will change. Maybe I'll get into law school and just be miserable. But, yeah. But before I let that misery destroy my dream, I'll need to pivot and go back to my plan. Today I work with Able SC, and because of them I found many ways and places that I can make my dream come true without going to law school. That would be like plan B, and I have plan B because my dream is really important to me. But what if you aren't the dreamer? Mom and I are supporting Dad's MBA, and countless people have supported my dreams. Never underestimate the impact you can have on someone else's dreams. You never know what you might get out of it, and there's always that great feeling when you witness their joy. So, let's recap. We talked about having a really good, flexible plan. We talked about working on the plan and being willing to go back and change it. And we talked about living our dream and even redefining it and letting the joy of it all wash over us. It may not work out, but the experience of it all will be worth it. So, what's important to you? What are your dreams? Are you moving toward them or sitting still just wishing? I wish for you all a moment in time when your dreams do come true. Even if that dream is to sit in a dark room with the smell of buttered popcorn, watching fantasy warriors fight for what they believe in. I wish for you all that joy that comes from watching everything you've worked so hard for arrive on the shoulders of a beautiful dragon. Each and every one of you has the right to dream, and even more so, you have the right to make the dream come true. Thank you.